Arrow Season 5, Episode 12, Bratva. Very interesting episode. We have, of course, well, most of the team going off to Russia. We get to see a pretty interesting flashback in this episode with Oliver, and at least by the end of it, kind of making the decision like, hey, we can take this guy out. And then we kind of see some of the ramifications of that in the present as well, which I thought was interesting. But I thought this was a good episode. Kind of a sad episode too. It's kind of a bittersweet episode when we get to the end. We actually lose Rory on the team, so that sucked because I actually like this character. I like that actor as well. But you know, I like them having this team, and now I feel like we're getting to a part where it's like, here we go, and they're about to start doing some weird stuff where we start losing members or something, and we aren't going to have this big team like they seemingly were building up. Which maybe they're headed back towards the just, you know, Oliver being just Green Arrow. But we also got a lot of crazy stuff happening with him being Green Arrow and certain people knowing that secret. And they finally brought back the reporter thing where she was, you know, first she found out that he wasn't on the island the whole time. And then she found out the stuff about the Bratva and how, you know, you get a certain tattoo when you become like a chief or something like that. So I don't know where they're headed with that character. Like, she seems cool, and I guess they're still in that 1 month period or whatever where it's like, you know, give me a chance to do this and do that. So I don't know where we're headed, but I'm kind of freaked out. Like, I don't know what she's going to do. And be like, hey, you're Green Arrow. Like, I don't know where they're headed with this or what's going to be happening with that, but I'm very curious. Like, I feel like it's just going to blow up. It's not going to be simple where she reveals it to Oliver first or something. I mean, she might, but I feel like she's going to take this story to everybody. Like, hey, not only was he not on the island the whole time, but check this out. The Arrow happened to be in Russia at the same time as Oliver Queen. And then poof, once that stops there, both of them end up in Starling City. So I don't know what to expect from that, but should be interesting. And as far as this episode goes, I like what they're doing. I mentioned before with the Felicity thing, I like what they did with her character as far as them seemingly putting her back into the sort of hacktivist route. And that's definitely where they're headed. She got pretty dark in this episode where she uses the information on the guy and she threatens him and stuff. And, you know, Rory mentioned like she may have crossed the line with the guy. And I like that. And, you know, she got the text like, you know, hey, don't stop with this guy. And she's not going to. Like, they're, you know, every time she uses it, they know that she used it to look up a certain bit of information. So it's like, hey, don't just stop there. There's a lot more good that you can do. And she's like, hey, don't plan to. So I'm curious to see where they're going with that. And they kind of hinted at what I was expecting, which was her, you know, using this information and possibly going down a slightly darker path. Like, I didn't expect her to actually do what she did in this episode. I just assumed it was going to be like she would just reveal information, but she like physically went to a guy to blackmail him. And I was like, oh, that's even darker than I thought she'd get. And it was way faster than I expected too. So I actually really love that. I was like, all right, they're not wasting any time with this. It's not, you know, very subtle. It's like, nope, we're going to go. I need you guys to act like you're tough. I'm going to go threaten this guy and act like we may or may not kill his family and stuff like that by revealing certain information about him. And I love that. I was like, all right, that got pretty far with her pretty fast, and she doesn't plan on stopping. So I'm actually excited for where they're headed with that storyline. We have Diggle, of course. Whenever Diggle gets super pissed off, it's very interesting to watch because he's always the one who's really calm. And in this, it was just, he was losing it. And like, he's like destroying this guy that they have captured, and Oliver's trying to tell him like, hey, you know, just give it time. We have to do this smart. And Diggle was just like, hey, we don't have time for that crap. And he's just like welling on this guy. So there was a lot of dark stuff in this episode where people were just going, like, they were getting pushed to their breaking points. And I really like that about this one. Diggle was losing it. Oliver had to go back to something that he never wanted to do again with the Bratva stuff and kind of being their thug, which wasn't too bad in this episode. I mean, all he did was like threaten a dude and break his fingers. I'm like, he does that all the time. So that was nothing really. That was hardly a thing. But, you know, he goes back to that, and that's not what he wants. And of course the stuff with Felicity. So I really love what they did, especially because it was like, you know, the original 3 characters of Team Arrow. They were all getting to like these really dark points in this episode. And, you know, they mentioned Prometheus. Oliver's like, I can't let you guys go to that point because then Prometheus will be right, and I need you to prove it to him as well as me that we don't all need to kind of go to that point. Like, I've been there and I've screwed up and I'm trying to get past that. I don't want you guys to even get to that. So I actually really like that moment where they all kind of have that little conversation of how they each kind of went to some really dark places in this episode, or have gone to dark places in the past. So I thought that was really well done. The stuff with Renee and Lance I thought was really good, especially the ending sequence. I love that, where he reveals, like, I figured you wouldn't remember, but basically you helped me out and set me on a better path. And you know, the way it ends, where Lance is like, didn't you still get dishonorably discharged? He's like, well, not everybody's perfect. And it's like, hey, he's totally right about that. Like, that may have happened, but he could have been dead. Like, you just never know. So I thought that was a great moment when Renee kind of reveals it at the end. Like, I figured you wouldn't remember, but you helped me out when I was a kid. And, you know, I mean, he didn't have a choice, because Oliver didn't, as they put, didn't want him starting any sort of international incidents. But I thought it was really cool. It all kind of came together in the end. Because at first it was just funny in general that Renee kind of was forced to stay behind, and so he has to look after Lance, who decides that, you know, he's out of rehab and he's going to go back to, you know, trying to take his position as far as being a part of Oliver's cabinet. So I thought that was really cool. And it's always great to see Lance, because he's got a very interesting story, and he really suffers. He's one of the characters that truly suffers the most. So I love the way they did it. When Renee was giving him like the super hard questions and he was flipping out, like, you know, you're going too far asking about my daughter and stuff. And I love that. I was like, these are some really good moments. Hilarious moment when I think it's the scene before the last one that they have in the episode, when he says, you have a wise ass mouth or something. And I don't know what the deal is with Renee, but he's like, I don't know, but did you just say my mouth looks like ass? That made me laugh so much, because I'm like, how could he not know what wise ass mouth means? And it just made me laugh so much. I was like, that didn't even make sense. And especially Lance's face, he's like, what? Like, how does he not know what I'm talking about? So I love that sequence for sure. But I thought their storyline was good. The present storyline I thought was really well done. Of course, the ending with Rory was unfortunate, that, you know, him using the bandages to stop the nuke ends up forcing him to leave. It's better than him dying, because I was like, I'm kind of worried, like, are they about to kill him off, like have like a twist ending where he dies and it's like a super sad ending out of nowhere? But it was kind of a bittersweet ending, because he ends up saving them from the nuke, and, you know, it kind of destroys his powers. It might be temporary, so we might actually see him come back, but who knows? It'll be interesting. And I'm also wondering if I'm even saying the right name. That might not even be. It might not even be Rory, because that's a different character. So I don't remember. But if that is his name, then either way, it's sad to see him go. So bittersweet ending. But I think the storylines are good in this episode. The flashback I thought was fine. It didn't tie in as much as I thought it would. Considering they went to Russia in this episode, it didn't tie in nearly as much as I expected it to. Like, we didn't even see Oliver meet with his friend, whose name I of course cannot remember at all right now, but we didn't even see him in the flashback until the end of the episode, where basically Oliver kind of rejoins the Bratva, because like he goes and he's like, you know, where is he? And the guy's like, where have you been? And then he just kind of ignores the question. So it was still him and Talia, so there wasn't too much advancement, but we still got a little bit of the stuff where she talks about him failing the city. Like, that, he kind of has that first moment in this episode, which I thought was cool, where it's like, you know, you failed Starling City, because he realizes that he took out a dealer, you know, not the supplier. And I thought that was cool. It was like, that was like his first moment of realizing, I need, you know, kind of cut the head off the snake. So I thought that was actually really cool too. It was like, you know, he's getting these little lessons from her, where he's learning how to help people the best. And I thought that was a cool moment in this episode, admittedly. So I was like, even though it doesn't tie in as much as I was hoping it would, because it's like he's actually in Russia in both the past and the present, it was still pretty good, because it was how he learned, like, okay, I need to go straight for the source. I don't take out some little 2-bit thug and then just take off. Like, that's one guy giving out drugs when there are hundreds, possibly thousands, you know, doing it. Probably not, you know, actually in the city, but across the world there's tons and tons of people. So he has to take out the source of these drugs, the guy who makes it all possible. And I like that. I was like, that's a good lesson to learn. It makes a lot of sense. So certainly enjoyed that. Found out something interesting while watching this episode, because my girlfriend was in the room during the flashback sequences, and she mentioned Talia's accent sounded really fake. The actress is actually from Toronto. She's not actually British. So I thought that was interesting. And her voice, when she said it, I was like, her accent does sound totally different than the last one, because she sounded like super old school British. And then in this one, I was like, it does sound like a totally different accent. Like, it didn't sound like super old school British. And as soon as she said that, like, even before she said it, I was like, yeah, her voice sounds like, it's a little different than in the last one, where it was like full on, like, you know, corsets and stuff, British. And then this, I was like, yeah, it doesn't really sound nearly, you know, like it did in the last episode. Like, she was like 1,000% British, and then she went to like, maybe like, you know, 60-70% British in this one. And I was like, it does sound very different compared to the last episode, which she didn't see. And of course she looked it up and she's like, I knew that accent sounded fake. And I was like, yeah, it's funny. It sounded totally different in the last episode. So if you guys may have noticed that as well, that is why she is not British. But that was the first time, I think at least, in the last episode where there was someone who was not British doing a British accent, and it actually sounded like a British accent to me. In this one, it did sound quite different compared to that last episode, so now I'm going to probably be thinking about that every time I hear her talk. Like, is it going to sound like the first time we heard her speak, where it was super, super British, or is it going to be like this, where it's like kind of British now? So I'm probably going to be looking for that from now on, but we'll see where that goes. It's not going to affect me, really. It's just something that my girlfriend pointed out, and I was like, she does sound totally different from the last episode where I specifically mentioned, like, she sounds super duper British. And then in this one, I was like, she does sound very different compared to the last one. But good episode. Liking the action for it as well, especially some of the moments where the action was just very visceral, like the part with Diggle where it was kind of dark action. It was like an action sequence, and even if it was really short, it was just them doing dark things. It was very entertaining, and I really like that about this episode. It just got into the darker elements of a lot of things, like even the stuff with Renee and Lance. It got super dark with him asking those tough questions in the beginning, and you know, him talking about his life at the end of the episode, where it's like, you know, you helped set me on a better path. So I think they did a really great job in this episode talking about the darker things and the redemption for certain characters, or lack of redemption for other characters, and things like that. And you know, Diggle decides not to kill the guy at the end of the episode, and it's like, no, you're gonna go on trial, and you know, justice will prevail, that sort of deal. So we'll see how that plays out. I hope it does work, because if not, he will have to actually kill that dude, because if it doesn't work, that's probably what he's gonna do, is kill that guy. But I'm assuming that won't happen. If it does, that'll be very interesting to see, because then it will get incredibly dark. It'll be the dark, well, maybe second darkest we've seen for Diggle since he killed his brother, but that was different. Like, his brother was like losing his mind, and he was, you know, he was warped, so it was very different. I don't even consider that to be a really dark moment compared to this, where I think, like, this was him being dark. Like, he was like welling on that dude who was already, you know, freaking out and thinking he was gonna die, and he's just like welling on this guy. But I'm excited to see where they take this storyline, if this isn't the official ending for it. They got rid of the nuke and everything, so it's probably the end of the storyline. We might just get a little bit of that in the next episode, where it's like he is on trial and he's considered guilty or whatever. But I think this was a really good one. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, at least favorite parts were. And I want to know what you guys think about them losing a member of the team. Like I said, for me personally, I thought it sucked. I love the idea that they were building up a full team. I thought they were doing a great job with it. We've already had them, you know, because Thea hasn't been in the show for quite a few episodes, so they've already had one of the members missing, at least temporarily, and they added, you know, the new Black Canary, and now we officially lost another member, so it kind of sucks. I was like, man, I thought they were, you know, building up like this really big team. I thought that would have been cool. And, you know, the way they've done it, I think has been pretty well, because they don't always use them, because, like, sometimes Oliver's like, I'll do it myself, because he's better at it and he can deal with it on his own. And then other episodes, they do need the whole team, so it's not like the team is in every single episode doing all the work. And I thought it was a nice balance, so it sucks, you know, to actually see the characters leave, because I never felt like, oh, they've added this team and now they're in every single scene of every single episode. I thought they had a great balance with them, so when, you know, with these characters leaving, it actually does suck. I was like, man, I felt like they already had a good balance with it, and, you know, they're already losing characters, so it really sucks to see him go. Hope he comes back sooner rather than later, but that's my opinion on it. Would love to know yours, and of course, want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.